Everyone, you are listening to YachtFemme on Yachting International Radio, where we discuss women in yachting. Welcome to YachtFemme, where we talk about the women that make the yachting industry. I'm your host, Andrea Tagliaferro. Learn who they are, how they got into yachting, and what they do today. Today we talk to Lea Tintaud. She's a yacht charter specialist based in Monaco. Lea has worked as crew on boats. She achieved a master's while being a yachtie, lived a life as an entrepreneur, worked with one of the biggest yacht brokerage companies in the world, and more. Hi Lea, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Well, thank you so much for being here today and being pretty much holding my hand on my first podcast because I'm a little bit shaky. Can you share with us a little bit about your background? Where did you grow up and how did you get into the yachting industry?
So basically, I was born in Paris in France. My mom's English she was born in near London, and my father is French from Paris. So I ended up moving from Paris to the south of France when I was a little kid. So most of my childhood I spent in the south of France, which is very, very close to yachting and the sea and everything. So I was very connected with that side of the business very, very young. And I actually used to be a chief stewardess on board super yachts when I was going to university to pay for my studies. So this is how I started.
How did you go from university kid to full-time yacht crew?
Well, it was an opportunity, really, something I didn't look for, really. I used to work at a bar near the port for like a weekend job, and all the captains and all the charter brokers were coming to this cafe near the port after yacht shows and everything like that. So I got to speak with them, and I was curious about this industry, and I was wondering, how was life at sea and everything. And, I read a lot of books when I was a child. So I was like, oh my God, is it like Hemingway? And, do you see like big fish like this and stuff like that? So a little bit of an adventure spirit, really. And one day, one of the captain was looking for someone to fill a position in Viareggio, which is something like 7 hours driving from where I was in Nice. Mm-hmm. And he said, listen, really, basically the job is exactly what you do, is serve people cafe and cocktails and, and be there for them. It's catering. Plus you have to clean a little bit behind them and make the bed and blah, blah, blah. So it was very, for me, can I do this really? Blah, blah, blah. He said, oh, there's someone on site who could train you. She will be your chief stewardess. So I'm sure you'll be fine for it. So he gave me a lot of confidence to get in the job. So I quit my job and then went to Viareggio like 3 days after that. It was in the spur of the moment. And then I started like this. I went to Viareggio and I met the owner. We had this interview and he said, well, okay, you with us for the next 6 months. So this is how I started.
Wow, that would be a little bit nerve-wracking for me. I actually did the stewardess as well. Very few people know that about me. And I did not have that roll off my tongue as easily as you did. My first day there, I had never been a waitress, never been anything. I just sort of landed into that situation because the stewardess they had left on holiday. So it was just like, you gotta do this. And I didn't know what was expected or how things had to look. People don't know how hard it actually is. From what I read, you went from being in the charter and from heavily on the yacht side and being on board as crew, then you transition into land. And this is something that we get asked a lot. A lot of people that I've met that are a crew did not know that that was a possibility, and I think you have done that beautifully. How did you transition from yacht crew to land-based?
About 10 years ago when I started to do that, maybe 8 years ago when I started to do that transition, not a lot of people could do that, I think. And I had the chance to have a master's degree. So I did my education at the same time as I was a stewardess on board during the summer. So I think that helped me land a job in the logistics side, and people, well, my first employer realized that I had the experience of being a crew on board and what was going on the charter aspect of things on board, and they could use that skill plus the knowledge I had with languages and speaking. I speak 4 different languages, so because I had that skills combined, I think that made the difference. So I don't know if any of the, because it's such a closed industry and world in Europe. I mean, I'm not too sure about how it works in the US and if it's more chilled or different. But
No,
in
it's
Europe,
not.
it's very, and you have to have that kind of degree, or you have to prove that you know either a lot of people that could charter yachts, or that you are capable of being diplomatic in any situation, and that you know a little bit about law and contracts and regulations and stuff like this. So I think I had this window of opportunity because I combined the 2 experiences at the same time: the master's in international relations and the experience on board. I think that's a possibility for a lot of chief stewardess who has more than 4 or 5 years experience. I'm sure this will be a valuable asset for any company if they ask to make the transition and learn about how to organize a contract and all the logistics, because that's not something you can't learn. It's really, you have to be proper trained.
Okay, well, 2 questions about that. First, what are the 4 languages you speak? I assume 2, of course, English and French. What are the other 2?
Italian. In Monaco, you have to. And my degree was in international relations between France and Italy. So I speak Italian fluently, and a little bit of Spanish because I used to live in Madrid for a year for my Erasmus program.
Yeah.
So I speak a little bit of Spanish. It's mixed up with Italian a little bit sometimes, but I can understand and make myself understood.
I know. I speak Spanish, English, and a little French. And after the shows, because I'm surrounded by all the fabulous yacht designers, that many of them are Italian, I leave the week imagining that I'm actually fluent in it, which is completely not true. The other thing was, when you're in a full-time job, sometimes it's a bit overwhelming to think that you can actually master being there present for your staff and for the owners of the yacht, as well as actually achieve the masters that you were able to. How did you manage to get a master's while working full-time on a yacht?
Well, the mission I had on board yachts during the 5 years was summer. And it was convenient for the owner to employ me during the summer and then let me go for the winter from October to May, so that he wouldn't have a salary to pay. And then I would come back during the summer when it was the summer holiday for a university. So I could manage to organize my schedule around that, because I started obviously a little bit later than all the other students, because September was the actual going back to school bit, and I was still on board. So I started 1 month later, and then I had to arrange to pass my exams just after May, and I kind of had some special all the time, I arranged around my job on the yacht and my exams, and I always managed to do that so I could combine the 2 things, summer and winter kind of activity.
That sounds great, because I do know a lot of them take that time off to do a lot of traveling, but if this was a goal for them, this could definitely be something they could organize into their schedule. At least now there's a lot of information out there available for people that are crew. What do you do after you get off the yacht? So people are starting to think of it sooner rather than later, which is what happened at least to people that are around my age. late 30s, they're coming off boats, and now they're starting to realize what is the path I'm going to do. So I think that's amazing. I do know, if we're talking about land-based, you had a great interview at Burgess. Sadly, in the States, if you do not have a residency or a citizenship, it's very hard to employ you. So you went back to Monaco, but that worked out beautifully. You were 4 years at Edmiston. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was one of the biggest position I had when I started my career. Really, I had this 1 year experience in a family-based office in the south of France called Ocean Drive, and then I jumped to a big corporation, which was very different because on the family-based business, you actually you do a little bit of everything, and you find solution for everything that comes at you, and there is no different department for CA management looking after yachts and optimizing their schedule and finding new clients for to be on yachts, so retail, charter. So that was blend. It was like a one department I had to make work, and I did a little bit of reporting, accounting, marketing. In a family based, you touch everything. And then it's like, if you know how it's organized in the kitchen, for example, it's the same thing. If you have a small restaurant and you're the chef, you do a little bit of everything. If you're in a big restaurant with a lot of staff, you have one person for the pastry, one person for the chef de partie, one person for the dessert. And then in big corporations, it's exactly that, like that. Some of the jobs that I used to do were separated into different roles, and I had to stick to one side, one particular focus of the charter business, which was very interesting because you do it a lot deeper and you focus on that particular aspect, which was charter management, which was looking after yachts at Edmiston. And what's very interesting because also you have to collaborate with other people and have a lot of colleagues, which was new for me, and work in a team and do some cross-selling opportunities, because some information, when you have a lot of roles in one industry, some information gets lost. So sometimes you have to go back to thinking global and say, okay, I know this and this and that, maybe that could serve the sales department. And then you start to work your way in like this. And this is what I did at Edmiston. I really, really enjoyed my time here. And I had the opportunity to meet gorgeous people, very interesting people from different background and nationalities. It was very, very rich.
And you made amazing connections there too, because being under that umbrella, the networking is, you already have a foot in the door, which,
yeah,
as you know, coming from a small company is not the case. You constantly have to introduce yourself, and this is what I do, when you just have that. And especially if you go to introduce yourself at the Monaco Yacht Show, where a big portion of it is, bread with the company covers, it's pretty easy saying, that's my company. So I do understand that. I wanted to go a little bit. You said that while you were there, you were super happy. You were offered this position to disrupt the industry. You had that entrepreneurial moment, but then you actually shifted out of it. What was it exactly?
Well, I was offered a position to build a platform online, same as Airbnb or bookings or something like this, that would disrupt the way of chartering yachts or buying yachts. So I was very interested in modernizing the industry, because I think the yachting industry is very, very working on ancient ways, and it's not moving very, very fast, but it's protecting itself also. So the yachting industry, especially in the charter matter, they have organized an association called MIBA, so the Mediterranean Yacht Broker Association, and they federated the industry into common standards. So I think because they protect themselves to achieve the same standards, it's very hard to how do you say that in English? I don't know. To
say it in French. Maybe
catch up on new technology and everything like this, because everyone has to agree on how it works and everything like that. So when I was offered that position, I was like, oh, great! I could build that platform and then eventually sell it to all the actors in the industry as a B2B tool. But my the biggest shareholder in that venture didn't share my strategy, and then he wanted more to become a part of the industry as a direct actor of the industry in competition with all the brokers and everything, which I disagreed. And at the beginning, I started to try and dissuade him not to do that by staying, and it was such an amazing opportunity. I think I've never been offered something like this, even in terms of position and career wise. It was really interesting for me, so I tried to hang on to it, but then it was too different. It was too different from what I really believed in terms of how the yachting would evolve, and he had ways I didn't really agree with. So we decided to part ways. We said, well, we don't agree. Let's not make ourselves miserable. You carry on. I do something else. So I recuperated my shares, and then I moved on to something else.
Can you tell the audience, what are you doing now?
Currently, I'm working for a company called John Taylor Yachting. John Taylor is originally a real estate company, and they decided to open their yachting branch. So they bought the company I used to work for. So I used to work for a company called Sea Mines, and they bought that company, and we became John Taylor Yachting. So now we work under that commercial name, John Taylor Yachting, and we develop the sales. My CEO developed the sales aspect of the business, and I developed the charter aspect of the business. And because of all this, the way it works, the way the industry works, we partner with a MIBA company to actually organize all the charters and everything like this. And we're in the middle of deciding if we should keep the MIBA company name, or if we change to John Taylor Yachting altogether. At the moment, it's a little bit confidential because it's not really official.
Well, thank you for the scoop.
The company we are actually putting our shares in. So I'm not allowed to tell you the name of that MIBA company, but it will be revealed very, very soon, like in the next 2 weeks.
Do you miss, now that you are officially what we call the land-based people, the ones that are not working on yachts, do you miss being crew? Was that
every day?
Really? How come?
Well, I think because the brain is made like this. You only remember the best memories, and all the things you used to say, oh, I hate this, I would never do that again. You kind of forget about them, and you only keep the nicest things and the amazing experience it's been for the 5 years I've been doing that. So it was incredibly even the landscapes, the people you meet, the guests you serve. There are so many different kind of people. Some are really, really terrible. Some are very inspiring. Also the crew, sometimes you click with someone, and then sometimes it doesn't work and you have to find solutions. So it's very rich.
For those who don't understand what she means, remember, when you're crew, you're sharing the bunk. You are in very tight quarters. So if you don't like someone, this is a big, big, big issue. And then you're praying for them to move on in some way or another. Personally, I do remember a lot of my bad ones when I was a stewardess. Oh God, because I was on a private that felt like a charter,
Yeah.
but then I was the only stew in a 130 footer. And the
Yeah.
person always wanted to have parties, and our parties were like 30 plus people, plus the stewardess, and they didn't want to hire extra help for the events. So
Right.
you not only were you all the way around, our team was not how you described the small companies. Our team was, even though it was only like 6 or 5 people, which I don't remember at the moment, everybody stayed in their lane. So the moment the captain had done driving the boat, he was done. He was literally done drinking and off the boat, smoking cigars when pretty much everything inside was going down in flames. So camaraderie is very important, and teamwork when you're doing it.
Definitely. I realized by speaking with other crew and other people that shared my experience that I was super lucky. First
Yes.
of all, I always had amazing captains. So that, and I think the captain really set the
The tone.
ambiance on board. Exactly. So if, you know, I was struggling in something and then the chief mate, for example, said, "Oh, this is not my work, blah blah blah. I've done my job, and you know, this is nothing to do with me." The captain, I had like three different captains during my 5 years, and then every one of them were like, "Listen, guys, we are on the same boat. When you are, you know, struggling, she'll help you, and that's the way it works." And I always had the chance to have that kind of spirit on board, which made the whole thing so much easier because we stick together.
No, that's so true. I had 3 captains, and one of them was, as you are describing, if something fell, he was the first one on the floor cleaning it up. He didn't really care what status or what station you were on. And then, like I said, the other one was so drunk that the owner was on board. It was only like 9 p.m. He wanted to move the yacht, and the captain was incapacitated, and we could not leave because
Wow.
he had decided at 9 p.m. owner on board, he was off duty because he
And
had docked the boat. And
and the
he was,
owner was okay with that?
the other person also drank heavily, and I think
Right.
he found this amusing. But I'm very different. I would have said fired. In my head, it was just screaming the word like, "Get off my boat!
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
insane?" It's like the chef saying like, "I already gave you breakfast. I'm done." That does not happen. So it's really nice to hear that you had such a positive experience in working in the yachting industry for
Yeah.
so long, with different captains and in different scenarios. I also think the fact that you had a beautiful life balance, being on the boat, but you also had your time back being
Yeah.
and pursuing something you were truly. So in a sense, you were able to step out, even re-examine and see like if you really wanted to stay in the role you were, and you had options. Other people,
Yeah.
after it's like 2 years, they really have stopped their life for 2 years, and they have to just keep going. You were constantly nurturing both of your paths. So at the end of the day, you were creating options for you for yourself daily. What do you see the yachting industry moving towards in 5 years? We know it moves at a slower pace than things do
Yeah.
on land. But when you're really in the nitty gritty, and which you are in Monaco, which is almost yachting everywhere you turn, where do you see the yachting industry going?
Well, I've seen a lot of evolution since I first started, especially in terms of regulations. A lot of things have changed in charters, for example, in terms of VAT implementation, where you start your charter. A lot of company blew like fiscal representative, lawyers, and everything. So a lot of the side business of yachting are expanding. And because of the regulation, I think there is more and more opportunity to regulate how people have the right to exercise as a charter broker or as a sales broker, because as you are a stewardess today, you don't have any certification for it. You can be put on board a yacht. You just have to pass the STCW 95, and then you are officially a stewardess. but
Yeah.
you don't really have all the knowledge to be able to perform very well. So as your experience, you said you were thrown into the business and you didn't know what was expected. So I think a lot of possibility for side business schools or certification or regulations to actually implement those standards, so that people know what kind of quality this boat is, or this broker or company is, because at the moment it's very, very not transparent. It's very opaque. The business is, we don't really know which company turns to. And I'm in the yachting industry, so I know Burgess and Edmiston, but sometimes my clients don't even know those big guys. So for the end client, sometimes you say Burgess. It's not like if you say Airbus in the aviation business, for example, or
Yes.
Boeing. So they don't have that kind of stamp to say, boom, we are the authority on yachting, kind of thing. So I think that is going that way, especially by Burgess taking charge a little bit more, because they are the authority at the moment, and they try to change that. I think also Camper Nicholson were they were talking in the past about regulating that. And I know in the US, for example, to become a real estate broker, you have to pass a certain certification, similar
Yes.
as to be sales broker or charter broker. Here in Europe, no, you employed in the company and then you can become overnight a charter broker who doesn't know anything about, contracts and stuff. So I think it's going this way. We're trying to implement also standard, not in the quality of the boat we recommend to our clients, but also in the way we actually do business with them, and certification, as in the aviation business, the private jet business, they have some exterior certification, not MIBA, which is an inside B2B kind of association that certifies standards.
So, I wanted to ask you, if you have some advice going back, what do you wish you had known your first day in yachting?
I would say, Lea, take your time. It's different, if you go land-based, you'll have to be a little bit more patient. If you want to achieve things, you have to go step by step, and then don't take anything personally. It's not because it's you, it's just because the way things are land-based. It's not the same kind of opportunities you get when you're on board and taking charges. When you land-based, you have a boss who has a boss who has a boss. So people report to different bosses, and on board you just have to go to the captain and say, okay, I want this that way. Yes, no, boom, it's done. So it's very different.
Yes,
so adaptation is key when you go from an on-board job to a land job.
I look forward to seeing all the updates. I can't wait to see, get the scoop from you guys. What is the name? And we're so happy. You're such a great story to tell and to inspire other people that see that you can actually do it if you have a goal set in the beginning and not just fumble onto it in the end.
So many ways to enter the yachting industry, and especially if you are different than me, who started as an academic and then started my way into summer. You can do the other way. You can actually start in the yachting industry and then start to think about your next move. What's going to be you can have this entrepreneurial spirit and say, okay, I've seen how this works, for example, in provisioning, and I think this is not working properly, and I want to create my own provisioning company in the business of yachting. So I think you have to be very curious when you are in the yachting, because there's so many opportunities to be land-based afterwards if you open your eyes and analyze what's not working and what you could make the difference where.
I love it. Stay curious, see how you can improve
yourself
Yeah.
and the industry as a whole, and you can just go after it. If it doesn't exist, go and create it.
Exactly.
So amazing advice. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to share it with the other people.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the first ever episode of YachtFemme. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and comment. Your comment will help us reach a broader audience. And don't miss the next episode. Bye!